of the African savannah on safari, looking for... Mike, is that a lion stalking us? I think it's something much scarier. It's a search term report, and someone has keywords with 150% ACOS. Oh no, they never added any negative keywords. And it looks like all their bids are just $3. No bid optimization? We're in trouble. We need to do something about this giant ACOS, but I don't know if we can do it alone. Oh no, it's the ad badger. Should we run? No, the ad badger can save us. He'll rip that high ACOS to shreds with bid optimization and negative keywords. What's going on, Badger Nation? It's Mike and Brett from Ad Badger, and you're listening to the PPC Den Podcast, the world's first Amazon PPC advertising podcast, and your source for all of the tips, tricks, and optimization strategies you need to get the most from your Amazon ads.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is nice and sunny here in Austin, Texas, and we have episode 22 of the PPC Den Podcast coming right your way. How you doing today, Mike?
I am doing fantastic. Spring is in the air. However, you want to know who's not doing fantastic?
Oh.
Amazon sellers in Amazon China. Yes, that's right. Amazon.cn closing down today, or at least by the time that
in June.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's definitely major news. I think a lot of, most of our audience is US sellers. I think a lot of those sellers are going to be pretty happy with this change, just because China's kind of notorious for a lot of black hat tactics. So that's kind of probably a sigh of relief for some people.
The question is, what's going to happen to all of those sellers that were selling on Amazon China? Are they going to look for new marketplaces?
We're going to have more drop shippers coming our way.
That's right. Here it comes. Moving fast, another cool piece of news. Actually, before we even go there, just as a final thing about like Amazon China, it's actually really interesting. I actually just tweeted this earlier where it's like things not everyone knows, that Amazon doesn't have a stranglehold over e-commerce internationally in every country the way that it does in the US. Mm-hmm. I think that's pretty interesting. I have a good friend who's an e-commerce seller in Australia, and he's like, Amazon's like on try number 3 to really kick things off in the Australian marketplace. So I think it's actually pretty interesting, like how different consumers around the world think of Amazon. I would say definitely, obviously, you know, their stranglehold is the toughest and strongest in the US.
Yeah, and this is probably, podcast newsworthy as well, but Elon Musk has a project called Starlink, and they just launched 4,000 satellites. And what this is doing...
Yes, and?
It's basically a plan to create a global network of satellites that will give high-speed wireless internet to the entire world from anywhere for like $20 a month or something.
Whoa.
So they just launched a bunch of satellites for that, but just think about how many new people are going to be introduced to the internet. I mean, India right now, I think they've gone from 60 million users to 400 million just in the last few years. So definitely a lot of room for growth, not just for Amazon, but e-commerce in general.
I tried to quickly Google this as you were talking, and I said India internet users. Instead of getting a number, I got 29% of the population.
It's pretty low still.
So whatever that is. I could have sworn that Mark Zuckerberg wanted to launch not satellites, but like high elevation drones that would like just be...
I don't like the sound of this.
They would constantly be flying around like shooting down internet.
Oh boy.
Anyway.
Or shooting down internet satellites.
That's right.
One way to compete.
That's right.
Moving on though, KDP search term reports. This is huge, guys. I just noticed this yesterday, actually, but KDP search term reports are now available. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's Kindle Direct Publishing. So those who were using KDP to publish their books on Amazon before did not have search term report access. So it's basically like sponsored brand ads for you guys right now, where you're very constrained in what you can do. But this is a huge sigh of relief as well. So it's a pretty good week for Amazon sellers so far.
That's right, no doubt. Advertising books on Amazon. I was talking to a friend here, Zach from Scribe Media, who works with loads of authors, and he was telling me that they really struggle to spend on KDP ads, so basically book ads. And this is one definite step in the right direction. So pretty stoked about this, making book optimization a little bit, actually a lot easier now that you can actually see search term reports right inside of, it's sort of like the AMS, it's like advertising console, I think what they're calling it now. Who knows what they'll call it next month. Some Ad Badger news real quick, adbadger.com/careers. We're always looking for good folks. Customer support specialist, currently on the radar. That's a new one. So yeah, feel free to contact us or contact us to tell us if we're having a conversation. Contact us to tell us if our podcast intro is too long. Is it? Is it not? Is it fun? Is it perfect the way that it is? Or is it way overboard and Britt and I got totally carried away?
I have no idea.
I have no idea either. Does anyone like it? Does everyone just skip the first 2 minutes of our podcast?
I like the song part of the intro. That part's super catchy. I mean, even I'm vibing to that and I have to listen to
the drum beat?
It's like
the part at the end. Yes.
Yeah, that part's cool. Hearing my own voice, I'm like, oh.
That's right. I get an intense anxiety listening to the podcast.
Relatable.
No doubt. So let us know. You can contact us many different ways. You can go to adbadger.com and use the chat bubble in the bottom right. You could tweet at us. You could just find us, LinkedIn, know our names.
Make fun of us in our Facebook group.
Sure. Plenty of ways to get in touch.
Yep.
Anyway.
So let's just, yeah.
I've got another question about the podcast, if that's all right.
Oh, do it.
I had this idea. I don't know if it's a good idea or not. In between episodes, there's a combination, in case you weren't able to tell, of in between and episode. In between episode, essentially what it means is a shorter 5-10 minute episode, 5 to 10 minutes of just quick tips, sharing something on our mind about how to make Amazon advertising a little bit better. So it'd sort of be less talk radio-y, more quick tip.
Like something practical and that people could implement that day or something like that.
Little thing to chew on, implement that you can go home and do it right afterwards.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a thought. What would be an example of something like that?
Maybe the thing that Steven was thinking about with the single keyword ad groups.
Yeah.
Having the headline match the exact search term.
In sponsored brand ads, that's right.
Yeah, something like that.
Quick idea, quick tip. You we were standing around, you were standing around, I was taking a picture. You and Steven were standing around auditing a campaign. Mm-hmm. What did you learn? We could share that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we already just did that, so.
Boom. Anyway, let us know what you think. We love the podcast feedback. Feel free to drop us a review on iTunes, where approximately half the listens come from, or our Facebook page, or anything where the moment strikes you.
Wherever.
Let's get into the show. Now, this is a heated topic, Brett, which is why we're playing Mad Max Thunderdome sound clip right now, because I will go into the Thunderdome with anyone and talk about bidding on branded terms in PPC, whether it be Bing ads or Google ads or Amazon ads, whatever the platform, the story is the same. On the question, should you bid on your own branded terms? You know my answer, Brett.
I think your answer is probably pretty similar to mine, but I don't want to give out any spoilers, so...
Let's spoil it. No Avengers spoilers. No Game of Thrones spoilers.
Was Thanos wrong?
Thanos did nothing wrong. No, you know my answer to this. And I hope you just, basically, should you bid on your own branded terms? Without a doubt, yes. So many, we were going to touch on some of those reasons today. And then should you be bidding on your competitors' branded terms? We're going to touch on that too. So should you bid on your own branded terms? Here's how I like to set the stage. Anytime someone asks, should you bid on your own branded terms? This is what I say. So while Amazon does not provide click-through rate data, meaning the rate at which people are clicking on something compared to how many times they see it. So if they see it 100 times and click 10 out of those 100, that would be 10%. So if you look at the click-through rate for your own branded term, and unfortunately Amazon doesn't provide this data organically, but Google does. So you can actually go into Google Search Console, look at the click-through rate for your own branded terms. I guarantee you do not have 100% click-through rate on it. In fact, you probably don't even have close to 100%. Are you ready for this, Brett? For Ad Badger's own branded term. I looked it up right before this episode. Do you want to know what it was?
Do I?
Do you?
Should probably know.
It was 59%. For our people going to Google, typing in Ad Badger, only 59% of the time will they actually click on our thing, which is kind of crazy.
That's definitely crazy. And I don't know if it's worth mentioning, but I think we even had a case of somebody else bidding on our branded keyword inside of Google too.
That's right. What's up, Celix? How's it going? We were thinking about changing our ad. So we bid on our own branded term on Google too. And it's not like the organic listing has 50% of the click-through rate and the paid listing has 50% of the click-through rate. And another misconception people think about bidding on your own branded terms, like throwing an ad in there. Sometimes people think that if you bid on your branded term, your organic click-through rate will go down. And it's like the paid will just eat up all of the clicks. So what a myth is that your organic listing has 100% click-through rate, and that if you were to bid on it, you wouldn't net any more clicks. All you would do is just pay for things that you would have got for free. That just isn't true. And you can see this if you go to Google and you actually search Ad Badger. You'll see an ad from Celix, which, we're honored, we're touched. Thanks so much.
A little bit of a trademark violation.
A little bit of a trademark violation. But we're touched, we're honored to be on Celix radar. I mean, we are a small team doing big things though.
Small but mighty.
It's small and mighty. The Conor McGregor is he still the best? Did people still say he's the pound for pound best?
Nobody who talks down to him would last 10 seconds.
Okay.
So that's all that matters, right?
GSP, George St. Pierre.
GSP is probably, yeah.
He's the pound for pound? That's us.
He's the GOAT.
We're GSP.
I like it.
Okay. Anyway, moving on. It's not like our paid took clicks away from our organic. There's lots of things that people may click on after making a branded search. They might click on a piece of news. They might click on images. They might click on your ad. They might click on listings that are not in the top spot. They might click anywhere. And having another horse in the race, having your own paid placement, in addition to your organic placement, helps boot out a competitor, pushes them further down. It helps you do a lot of things. You're stacking the deck in your favor. So just in terms of the logistics of appearing in more than one spot, your organic listing does not have all the search traffic. And in addition, it's not like bidding on it is going to steal all your search traffic away from your organic listing. The point is your organic listing doesn't have all the clicks in the first place. So, whew.
That's a pretty important point, though, to get out of the way for sure. And another big thing to keep an eye out for is basically your ad quality score is going to be much better than any competitors who are going to be bidding on your actual keywords, especially when it comes to your own branded keywords. So you end up winning those clicks for pretty low CPCs usually. And it's really common for us at AdBadger to, open up a manual campaign and see that the majority of low ACoS keywords in an existing account are branded keywords. It's just because, those are very low CPCs.
That's right. So they're so cheap that like your ACoS is going to be 5% or less. Just go for it.
Yeah.
So in terms of just the economics, it's almost I've never seen branded terms be unprofitable. Almost never.
I think we're entering this age where, right now the most famous brands are the ones that people have historically seen in Walmart or 7-Eleven, big retail stores. But I think we're going to be entering an age here where the most prominent brands are the ones that, people's attention crosses. I mean, that's marketing 101. It's just about where the eyeballs are. And the eyeballs are going online. 59% of shoppers are starting on Amazon. So I think people really need to take their brand recognition seriously and realize that this could turn into a real huge brand if you play your cards right in the future.
That's right. I attended a conference one time. Russ Perry from Design Pickle, he was on stage and he was talking about how he grew his company. And one of his slides was like, if you believe in your brand, you'll pay for customers. Like if you believe in what it is that you're selling, if you believe in all these things, you'll be willing to pay for it. So it's like, if you believe in your brand strength, like the more presence you have, like you should be paying for it. It's like you should be sort of happy to pay, at a 5% ACoS on your own branded terms. And then one thing that like pops up sometimes is, we've worked with some pretty big brands, and sometimes people could be spending like $20,000, $100,000 a month just on terms that are involved with their own brand. And then they sort of look at that bill and they're like, damn, I'm spending 6 figures a month on my own brand. Do I have to do this? Like, what is the deal? And my response to that is, if you're not there, so like, let's say that $100,000 of ad spend is generating, just for the sake of it, $1 million in revenue. If you were to turn that off, that $1 million of revenue, some of it would go to a competitor, some of it. And then the question is like, would you want to give a competitor any of that? Because if you're not there, a competitor is going to be there and they're just going to scoop some up.
Yeah, and if anyone disagrees and wants to be a case study, just turn off all of your ads and then let them run for a couple of weeks or so, and then turn on only your branded keywords and see the difference. That was a sarcastic recommendation, guys, but that's one way to do it. I do think
people are going to write in and be like, "Oh my God, you told me to do this!
You killed my revenue!"
Just to prove that it would go down. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I had to mention that it was sarcastic, just for just for a few people who took it seriously, But definitely, guys, don't pass it up. Don't pass up bidding on your own branded keywords. It's super important. You're establishing yourself as a brand in that niche, especially when it comes to, sponsored brand ads, especially on Amazon. If somebody types in your main product or your main keyword, the brand that pops up there and can consistently pop up there is just going to be the brand that takes over time, I think.
Consumers also don't know the difference, right? So many consumers just click on the first thing that they see. It's not like they're like, oh, I need to skip past the sponsored brand ad, and oh, I need to skip past the first few sponsored products to get to the quote unquote real results. Like almost nobody thinks like that. I was just, as part of like doing some presentations sometimes to like pretty like techie people, sometimes I'll show them like, this is an Amazon search result page. Let's do a Command F or a Control F and like type the word sponsored in. The word sponsored is on the page like 15 times. Like people, and like they're like, whoa, I had no idea there's this many sponsored placements on a search result page on Amazon. And it's like, so if they don't even know, most consumers, like what does the Amazon marketer or e-commerce marketer actually make up? Like, how many of them actually are there? Like, what does it represent? Maybe 1% of all Amazon traffic is like an actual Amazon marketer. It's like most people are not Amazon marketers. Most people, they're not like pushing past the ads. Nobody knows the difference. They'll just click on the first things. I think it's something like 70% of people will never go past the first page of search results, something like that. And then from there, I think the number is like 40% just click on like one of the first three things.
Also, as an example, let's just assume that we have like the Ad Badger brand on Amazon. If we were a brand and we were selling Badger hats, for example, if we had the branded keyword Ad Badger hats, and somebody ended up using those same search terms and ended up converting, our listing is actually going to improve in terms of quality score for the Badger hat.
That's right.
That's huge.
Two things. One, we should sell Badger hats. Two, this is probably one of the coolest parts of bidding on your own brand, is that every platform, Facebook, Google, Amazon, Bing, wants you to be a company that gets clicks and then helps the person accomplish what they're looking for. So on Amazon, the thing is to buy something. So if you have an account, if you have two ad accounts that are almost the same, except one of them has a campaign that has like an incredible ACoS, and this one campaign has an incredibly high click-through rate and conversion rate, that person's like overall ad rating, sort of how Amazon looks at them, their organic ranking, all these good things, it's a positive feedback loop. So if you have a campaign that's converting so well and it's your own brand, that sort of helps your entire account. In Google, they have an account-wide quality score, which is like, what does Google, the company, think of the advertiser as an advertiser? Like, are they a good one or a bad one? And it's like, the bigger your account could be, the more clicks that you can generate, the better. And so you're branded, and I'm almost positive Amazon's doing something just like this, not only at the individual target level, like the individual keyword level and the individual product level, but also probably at the entire account level. Like, some people just have it easier on Amazon ads because their account is big and they're just getting more clicks, and you sort of have this momentum. It's part of the reason why you shouldn't really turn off a campaign. You should leave it running, all these good things. And the point there is that by having a campaign, like a branded campaign, that's just so incredibly healthy on click-through rate, on revenue per click, on conversion rate, on ACoS, on all these things, it gives your overall account a lift, which is really good.
Yeah, so that's something I've definitely noticed. Just anecdotally, definitely backs that up. But anecdotally as well, I've noticed that Amazon really likes to kind of take a lot of ideas from Google advertising because they've been so successful. So I know there's some lessons from Google that we wanted to talk about this episode. You want to go into this?
So there's a report actually inside Google. Basically what you do is you link up your Google Search Console, formerly known as Webmaster Tools, and your Google Ads account. And you link these two things together, and then what you can actually get is a report that literally says, this is your click-through rate when it was just paid, this is your click-through rate when it was just organic, and this is your click-through rate when it was just both. And basically what Google does, like, they're constantly like rotating and shifting around their search result page. So sometimes only an ad would appear, sometimes just your organic listing would appear, and sometimes it's like both. And almost always when you have both visible, your net clicks, your net click-through rate is going to be bigger. It's like 1 + 1 = 3 in the sense of, and why does that happen? Well, it's because you just pushed a competitor out of the way. And that's probably one of the biggest things. So just by the way that people interact by clicking on things online, if you have more than one spot, like in some ways, it's just like kind of like people are just clicking on the first things regardless of what they are. So if you have a paid listing and an organic listing, I can almost put good money on you're probably getting a net lift in clicks than if you only had your branded listing. So we can leave the Thunderdome. Actually, there's one more thing. Valuable phrases related to your brand. So like if we were bidding on Ad Badger I mean, we do bid on Ad Badger on Google. It's helpful for us to sort of see what the terms are to the left and right of that. Now, Google has Search Console, so you can actually see the organic searches related to your site, but on Amazon, you cannot see organic searches. So if you are Nike and you want to find out what people are searching about Nike, you can bid on Nike phrase and then see a whole bunch of different searches related to your brand. Get some real valuable data, some real search demand for maybe Nike men's shoes or Nike women's shoes, and actually see, what's trending when and all these different things. You can actually look at the search term report, and it can be pretty helpful.
Yep, I think knowing your customer is extremely important, for any business. So definitely understanding which phrase matches people are typing in whenever they're actually looking for your brand or your product, super, super important. And hopefully by now, guys, we've kind of given enough evidence or given enough points to make you feel like bidding on your own branded keywords is worth it. And that kind of leads us into the next question here that we get all the time, and that is the matter of whether you should bid on your competitors' branded keywords.
Getting bid on, one of the reasons to bid on your own brand is to kick out a competitor who's bidding on your brand. And I feel like anytime a competitor is bidding on your own brand, it invokes the feeling of Samuel L. Jackson telling people to get the snakes off the place.
Enough is enough! I have had it with these monkey fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane!
And it could be incredibly frustrating to do that, but there's some pros and cons. It's definitely not as cut and dry as bidding on your own brand, which you definitely should do. So bidding on competitors' terms is a little bit more nuanced. So let's actually break it down. So the first thing to mention is that there's a terms of service issue to think about before we start talking about any of this. What is it?
Just make sure that there are no other brands included in your listing itself or in your backend keywords, unless your product is compatible with that brand and it's going to be a mutually beneficial relationship there. Otherwise, do not put that in there or you're going to get shut down.
Like the classic case of this is if you're, do you mean like compatibility in terms of like selling a cell phone case and it works with an iPhone?
Right. Or like I sell vacuum cartridges for Hoover.
Okay.
Or something like something like that.
Okay. Cool.
That's okay. Mm-hmm. But if you say we're better than Hoover, you're in trouble, bro.
Okay. So good to know. So there's some good reasons to target competitor keywords. There's also some bad reasons. So the first pro, gain some market share. If someone's gonna buy, from somebody else's branded term, maybe they're gonna buy 100 vacuums from somebody. The question that you can ask is, how much would I pay to have my competitor sell 5 less vacuums and me pick up 5 of those vacuum sales? So it's like you can potentially gain some market share. If you have a better product, if you have some unique advantage over a competitor, and that your product would actually be better for somebody searching, then you can, like, that's what we're here for. You can pick up some market share by bidding on your competitors. So that's a real thing. Mm-hmm. And the sort of the switching, like, people rarely switch from one brand to another, right? If somebody already knows that they want it, and they make that search. And of course, everyone searching a brand name doesn't necessarily mean that they are long-term customers. They could just be doing research. This could be the research phase. So getting in there, you could potentially scoop up a customer on their first purchase of a product, or potentially steal them away from someone they've purchased from for a long time. And this is a big deal. This is how businesses grow.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in love with Coke, you may try Pepsi once or twice and then go back to Coke. But some of those customers will stay with Pepsi the whole time, and understanding what that lifetime value is for a customer is really important when you're kind of calculating whether this is going to be worth it or not, because you're not just probably going to pick up one sale from that person. If you have a really good product and you are a good brand and you take care of your customers well, they're going to keep coming back for life. So you're going to, have a really good revenue amount just from picking up one customer.
For sure.
And then, building on top of that, I think another extremely good part about bidding on your competitors' branded keywords is you're accessing an audience that is perfect for your brand, assuming that competitor is similar to you. So it's the right type of audience that you're reaching. It's the right type of person who's most likely going to have some good conversion rates for your product. So that's another plus.
Right. It's almost like the other brand has done so much hard work for you. Like, that person didn't start by searching, Hoover vacuum. They probably did some research first to determine that, hey, do I need a vacuum? Is my old one broken? Okay, great, it's broken. Let me start looking at what are good vacuums. Okay, like I did some comparison. Now I'm typing in Hoover. It's like some person already, they already did some hard work. They're sort of like close to the bottom of the funnel. So getting exposure at this stage of the game can be pretty valuable. It'll be expensive, but this is where setting a different target ACoS for different campaigns can be helpful. Like, sure, it'll be definitely very expensive for you to try to steal or pick up a customer that's already searching for something. It'll be expensive, probably double, triple what your normal ACoS is. But then the question is, like, how much is it worth it to be able to scoop someone away? Are there going to be repeat purchases down the line? Is it going to be a subscription? Is it going to be, worth it? So understanding what your ACoS is for, bidding on your competitors' terms, definitely something to think about.
Yeah, and you mentioned before when we were talking about bidding on our own branded keywords that there's a good benefit to understanding the phrases that people are using, just to get a better understanding of who your target customer is.
Right.
And that sort of applies here too, doesn't it?
For sure. So if I'm Nike and I'm bidding on Adidas phrase match, I can see those impressions of sort of what's going in, if of course you get a click for it, because you really only see search term data if your terms are getting clicks. But still, you're going to pick up some competitive intelligence of what people are searching to the left and right of your competitor's brand's name.
Unfortunately, there are some drawbacks here, though. If you do decide to bid on your competitors' branded keywords, the first one, this isn't really necessarily a drawback, assuming the rest of your metrics work, but typically competitors' branded keywords have really low click-through rates, and the reason for that is brand loyalty. People who search for Coke typically are not going to click on an advertisement for Pepsi because there's brand loyalty there. So that does hurt click-through rates.
Right. You're going to have a bad click-through rate. You're going to have a really bad conversion rate. You're going to have a high ACoS. All of those things are going to be pretty bad. And, talking about the Thunderdome earlier, they're going to strike back, almost without a doubt. And, it's kind of interesting. I don't think it's like totally underhanded, potentially be flattered that people think you're, worth going after, so to speak. But they're probably going to strike back. They're going to be bidding on your branded terms too. So it's, just makes it a little bit more competitive in general.
Okay, I think I see him. Wait for my mark. Target acquired. I have a positive idea on
Selix.
And then, it can get dark. Like, hopefully your competitors are friendly. If it gets bad, it can get pretty bad. You could potentially, I don't know the temperament of all Amazon sellers. There are loads of Amazon sellers out there. So just by probability, there's probably some ill-tempered Amazon sellers. So they might go a little bit further than just bidding on your keywords. Could they bombard you with, this is like, this makes me so uncomfortable even to think about, but could they hit you with fake reviews, stuff like that? Would they report your listing? I don't know, would they start clicking on try to do some click fraud stuff, drive up your ad costs or whatever it might be, and, try to charge you some money, price you out of bidding on a particular thing. While Amazon does try to prevent all of these things, I mean, it's definitely, as we all know, it's an imperfect system.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this stuff is definitely rampant a few years ago. It's still kind of rampant. I think that news that we talked about earlier, this episode will kind of cut down on a lot of this and open up Amazon support to have more time to deal with these issues. So I think this is definitely going to improve, but just be aware that, if things are kind of getting shady and, you're starting to stay up at night worrying if this competitor is going to mess with your business, then it's probably not really worth it. So, I mean,
the worst part, if anyone's going to do that, they're probably not going to wait until you bid on their own branded term. I mean, this is another topic for another day, but there are some black hat things going on Amazon. So I think that concludes our conversation about bidding on your own brand, bidding on your competitors. Any other closing thoughts, Brett?
I know some people have asked how they can prevent themselves from being targeted. And really, all you can do is, bid on your own branded keywords. Keep hold of those. Really control that space.
Yeah. And you know what? One thing we almost didn't mention, not only do you bid on your own branded term to show up for searches, but you can also bid on your own ASINs, or you can bid on your own brand for product attribute targeting. So you can show up in the sponsored products related to this item when somebody's looking at an individual page. That's a big one too, to keep in mind. Definitely do that too. Defense, you gotta play some defense.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I think that wraps up branded keywords in general. Hopefully you guys have a better understanding of what you should be doing with your own branded keywords if you're not already, and have a good understanding of whether you're thinking about targeting your competitors' branded keywords or if you don't really want to deal with that. So any closing thoughts, Mike?
Yes, I'd love to hear from anybody if they are bidding on their own branded terms, what the metrics are like, if you're okay with spending the money to do so, if the ACOS is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever the ACOS is for you. I think that'd be pretty interesting. In terms of podcast feedback, we would love to know what you think of the intro, if we should trim that down a bit, as well as the in-between-isode. We were interested in hearing about that too. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.